how to write queries. So to start off, I would like you all to imagine, close your eyes and imagine your book. You finished it. It's a novella, it's a novel, it's nonfiction, it's a book of poetry, whatever it is. Imagine it typing that last sentence on the page and just feeling so satisfied. Okay, you got that image in your head? All right, now I want you to answer some of these questions. Okay, what genre is it? Who's going to read it? Who's your demographic? Is it an award winner or a moneymaker? Which publishing house would be best for your work? Should you go with a big six, a smaller, more attentive publisher? Will you keep the foreign rights? Will you keep the ebook rights? How much is your book really worth? If you're even slightly confused about what any of these questions, about the answers to any of these questions, then you probably need an agent. This is an example of an agent. They're kind of given a bad rap on, blogs and websites, but in reality, the only way to get your book, well, not the only way, but the most common way, and I think the best way to get your book published is to go through an agent. And because most of the big six publishers will simply not take work that's not represented. So how do you get an agent to represent your work is the big question. And your first step is to write a query. So who knows what a query is? All right, Katie.
A query letter is a business letter that you send to the agent, either via snail mail or more commonly nowadays via email, that is a brief summary / intriguing description of your book that's a la the back cover copy, and explaining why you are querying this specific agent, and also a little bit about yourself, the history of you as a writer.
Exactly. It's basically a pitch letter. It's you giving your story in a nutshell. So keeping that in mind, keeping what Katie said in mind, let's come up with some components that might be part of a query. Would you mind writing them on the board? It's like basic things. Yes?
How many words the book is.
Yes, exactly. How many words the book is. Yeah.
The genre of the book?
Yes, exactly.
Who's going to read the book? The target audience?
Yep. Target audience. That's a good one. All right.
Title.
Title, important, very important. As basic as you can. There needs to be a salutation. Dear agent.
Summary.
A summary. That's probably the most important part of your query.
Contact information.
Yes, contact information. All right, I want one more.
Good grammar.
Good, perfect, exactly. You want good grammar. Now this was kind of a trick. This was supposed to be a little bit difficult to come up with a lot of things because you'll notice that there aren't a whole lot of parts to a query, and that's because the best queries are short. Some of the best queries I've ever read as an intern at a literary agency are 2 paragraphs long, tops. So these are your components, basically. I would stray away from audience. But I would mostly go with your genre as your audience, and I would let the publisher and your agent figure that out for you. Just because as long as you have a general idea, you're sci-fi, it's fantasy, it's best not to, unless you're writing a nonfiction proposal, to just kind of let your book speak for itself in a way. Does that make sense? All right, so we're going to look at 2 examples of queries, and we're going to analyze what makes a good query and what makes a bad query. And I'd like to start off by reading the good query. Would anybody volunteer to read it out loud? Katie!
Dear Miss Agent, Patrick was just 7 when he fell into the well. He died, never knowing why his brother Michael did not return to save him. Decades later, unyielding grief and remorse beckon Michael back to the farm where Pat's life ended. He hopes to find a closure, Instead, he finds Patrick. Patrick is still only 7, still playful and mischievous. However, he misses Michael, does not care why Michael left him. He simply wants to be together again, like it was. He wants Michael to join him on the other side, but since Michael found Linda, his childhood sweetheart, he now has every reason to live. He refuses Patrick. Pat makes a game of helping his brother to cross over, and if Linda gets in the way, no problem, she can play too. Michael wants to do the right thing. He owes it to Patrick. He just doesn't know what that is yet. He only hopes it does not include losing his girlfriend, his life, or his brother a second time around.
Oh, oops, sorry, that's a typo I did.
Is a supernatural suspense, just over 100,000 words. Thank you for your time. Sincerely,
Author. All right, now I need somebody else to read the bad query. This is, I feel, would be much easier to read, just because it's bad. All right.
Dear Mr. Agent, I am a pharmacy technician and pre-med major in my recently completed 80,000 word thriller, Project Gemini, while as a female virologist who is trying to cure a seemingly unstoppable disease. Soon everyone working on the project is either missing or dead, and she finds herself on the run from corporate assassins while fighting to keep the vaccine out of terrorists' hands. Project Gemini wields a mix of suspense, science, and a touch of humor. It is like a cross between the Da Vinci Code and the girl with the dragon tattoo, with the imagination of Game of Thrones and the emotional resonance of To Kill a Mockingbird. This book has the potential to be a bestseller, and I intend this to be the first of a trilogy. I would be honored to provide you with the partial or the entire manuscript on an exclusive basis. If you are interested, please respond and I will send it via email or snail mail at your request. Thank you for your time, patience, and consideration, author.
All right, okay, so now I want us all together to come up with a list of what makes one good and what makes one bad. And some of these are more obvious than the others, so feel free to just shout whatever comes to your head. What do you, like, what differences do you see? Yeah.
For the bad, to compare it to a bunch of different books.
Yeah. And you'll notice that it's not necessarily bad to compare your, actually, you don't, I guess you don't notice it because I didn't put it in the other one, but it's not necessarily bad to compare your book to other books. But it's bad to do so many unrelating books, and also so many, it's kind of dangerous to do so many famous books, because everybody thinks that their book is going to be the next bestseller. If you want to prove that you know what you're doing, that you know your market, you'll choose some slightly less high-profile books, but ones that you know that your agent will recognize. Maybe 2 tops, and not at all this number. So definitely, that's important. Anybody else?
the good one has shorter paragraphs.
Yes.
The bad one says, I'm a pharmacy technician and pre-med major, and I'm pretty sure the agent doesn't give a crap
Yeah.
about that.
Exactly. I hate to say it, but the agent doesn't really care who you are, as long as, if you're not a nonfiction writer, then your platform, unless you're a wildly famous author already, or you have, you know, 1 million followers on Twitter, then who you are doesn't matter necessarily, because what really matters is your book. So, if anything, you'll want that information to go, you'll want that information to go all the way at the bottom if you include it at all. All right.
This might be kind of small and weird, but the bad one gives a lot of power to the agent and how they're like, I would be so honored to provide you with a partial, and thank you for your time, patience, and consideration. And it's a business transaction, not...
Exactly. That's definitely something important to pick up on. It doesn't sound professional. It sounds kind of like mealy. Like, I don't know, you don't want to do business with a person who's simpering, you know? This is a business transaction, just like Katie said. So you want to be straightforward. You don't want to have any of this like hopefully you won't need patience to get through their query or to get through their, you know, their partial. So why would you even include that word? You just want to thank them really quickly for their time. That's it. You don't want to give them too much power. They're another person who you're going to be working with.